the last of the red hot fools. What up, Mike? Toronto. VK on the beat. Check. I'm in Toronto, where you wanna get the city love. I'm from Toronto, where you wanna get the city love. I'm in Toronto, Mike, we wanna get the city love. My city love me back for my city love.
Welcome to episode 1669 of Toronto Mic'd, proudly brought to you by Great Lakes Brewery, a fiercely independent craft brewery who believes in supporting communities, good times, and brewing amazing beer. Order online for free local home delivery in the GTA. Palma Pasta. Enjoy the taste of fresh, homemade Italian pasta and entrees from Palma Pasta in Mississauga and Oakville. Yes, we are open, an award-winning podcast from Moneris, hosted by FOTM Al Grego. Silverwax.ca. Use the promo code TorontoMike10 at checkout and save 10%. RecycleMyElectronics.ca. Committing to our planet's future means properly recycling our electronics of the past. Building Toronto's Skyline, a podcast and book from Nick Iones, sponsored by Fusion Corp Construction Management, Inc. And Ridley Funeral Home, pillars of the community since 1921. Joining me today, returning to Toronto Mic'd, it's Blair Packham.
Hi.
Welcome back, Blair Packham.
I'm glad you're saying Packham. You know how many people say Pac-Man to my
that's
face?
Insane.
Yes, and it's not because of the game, I don't think. I think it's because they're not paying attention.
Well, maybe they're so, they have such fond memories of the game that they transpose. I spent a lot of time playing Pac-Man.
Yeah, me too, actually. I did in arcades. That's how old I am.
I can tell the same story. That's how old I am. And I remember,
in between games, I would also dance the Charleston.
Swing the mood with Blair Packham. But do you remember the tabletop one, where you would sit at the table?
Yeah. There's still one of those, I think, at Square Boy on the Danforth.
Wow.
Danforth and Jones.
See, everything's happening in the East End.
Oh, man, the East End is so happening. Call Dave Bedini.
Yeah, the East End Phoenix.
Exactly.
Coming soon. If it's a good time to start a newspaper. That's what I hear.
Well, I mean, good for him, man. I think that's so admirable.
Admirable.
Well, I don't know if it's fiscally responsible, but
not everything's about money.
No, exactly. And he's putting out a point of view and so forth. No, I think it's great. But it does in a sense contribute to the east-west divide in this town.
But it doesn't go this far west either. I feel like West End Phoenix is kind of code for the annex, maybe the junction, but not really west of the junction.
I think it's Parkdale and the Junction.
Okay, that High Park.
Yeah,
yes, you're right.
They would consider the annex downtown or central or something like that, and anything east of
Roncy's would count.
Right.
So where's the dividing line? Maybe the dividing line is Runnymede.
For here, and then going east, I would say it would be like Bathurst or something, because
right.
Anything east of that, I think they think of as Halifax or something.
That's funny. Well, I'm going to tell a story about heading east on the weekend. I'm going to tell that story in a minute. But I'm thinking, are you friendly with Cleve Anderson?
Yeah. I don't see Cleve very often, but yeah. I've known Cleve for 100 years, like anybody else. I mean, he's been around for 100 years, so yeah.
I only met him, I've seen him around, of course, but I only met him for the first time a couple of weeks back when he came by. He's in a band called West of Jane, and I was just thinking of West of Jane because we could start a newspaper. This would only help me, not you, because you're an East Ender. But west of Runnymede could be the arch rival of the West End Phoenix. We could start something there. I don't know. I'm workshopping it.
Yeah, I think it's brainstorm. I think it's good.
Shout out to Mike Boguski, who's in West of Jane there. Okay, Scott Dobson, is he? He's an FOTM. Was he on my program because of a Blair Packham recommendation?
I don't know that he was, but I would have recommended him. Yeah, I love Scott Dobson. I ran into him at a supermarket a couple of weeks ago. But I really enjoyed his episode with you. I
enjoyed it as well. And I just only bring up Scott because I'm on Blue Sky now. I know you're not very active on Blue Sky, but I just said, hey, Blair Packham's coming over. If you have a question or comment for Blair, let me know. And Scott Dobson replies, he killed a man.
Okay, now I have to tell my Scott Dobson story. I mean, it's one of many. He's such a character and a really lovely guy. Paul Myers,
FOTM Paul Myers,
and his wife Lisa Algar.
Okay.
This is in the 90s. They're moving to California. They have a farewell party at the Horseshoe, and everybody who's anybody is there. You know, it's great. And Scott is a lifelong friend of Paul's and really close friend. And I believe I was the MC. Maybe
that makes sense.
Anyway, Scott,
with your radio pedigree,
yeah, perhaps, yeah. But and of course, I love Paul and Lisa as well, and so forth. But Scott, I think I solicited people. Anybody have any questions for these guys or any comments, anything they want to say? If they can say it, or I can say it for you. You know, something like that. Scott said something like, "Oh," and he talked at that time, much less so. When I ran into him, I was sort of struck. He used to talk kind of like this, and he had a bit of a sort of the way he talked was like a 1940s film.
Or I thought it was like Brooklyn or something, or some New York accent.
But slowed down,
okay,
and he said, well, maybe now Lisa can show us... No, wait. Maybe now Lisa can finally show us her tits. And first of all, the implication being that we've all been waiting, first of all, and finally, and everyone's been asking... You know, and finally, you know.
That's funny.
I thought it was real. Paul thought it was funny. Lisa thought it was funny, too.
Quick observation here, of course. So Paul Myers from the Gravelberries, and et cetera, who has a book on John Candy. He's never been here in person, so I Zoomed with him.
Yeah.
And he's going to be in town to promote this John Candy book in the fall. Mm-hmm. And he's going to make his Basement debut in the fall.
That's going to be fantastic.
Is that unbelievable or what?
Yeah.
Can you believe it? Okay. But you mentioned Lisa Algar. Now, of course, Paul Myers' brother is Mike Myers. Mm-hmm. And the surname of Garth from Wayne's World is Algar.
No coincidence there.
No coincidence there. Okay, so now you know the rest of the story.
Was that Paul Harvey?
That's my Paul Harvey. See, that's how old we are.
There's probably, now you know, yeah.
But here's my thought on that. Like, let's say a 25-year-old is tuning in because he wants to hear some Jitters real talk, okay?
I mean, what 25-year-old wouldn't?
So the 25-year-old is now hearing, like, and now you know the rest of the story. And then he hears this name, Paul Harvey.
Yeah.
And when I was that age and I would hear things that predate me, I would then take a note like, oh, I need to dig into that. Like, what is that? And I would collect these references from before my time because I'd be interested to know them because I missed them because I was born too late, etc. So I feel like it's a service we provide for the youngsters to drop these references because I'm just the cutting edge for Paul Harvey's. Like, I don't know when he died, but like I remember him, and he's been parodied on The Simpsons, which does keep these references alive for future generations, like my now 9-year-old. But I feel like we need to. Sometimes I hear, oh, you're mentioning this person, and half the audience won't know who you're talking about. And to me, that's a reason to mention it.
Yeah, I agree. Well, you know, I've written stuff. I've written stuff for the stage, and
really,
yeah, a long time ago. But wow. I've written stuff, and people will say, well, nobody will get that reference. And I think, oh my God, like all the music I listened to that referred to people that I'd never heard of before, and all the stories, the Hunter S. Thompson books that I read, where I'm like, I don't know who half these people are, so I would look them up.
Right, like I'm interested in the story of Fatty Arbuckle.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, there's a fascinating story. Pre-OJ, that was the go-to famous person accused of murder.
That's right. And like Hollywood decadence kind of story.
Right.
And Fatty Arbuckle predates both you and I.
No, right. So this is it. So I'm here to say, Paul Harvey. And I just, as a kid, remember Paul Harvey. So he's probably gone. I don't know. He's probably gone by the time I'm a teenager. I don't know. But love, now you know the rest of the story. Okay, so now you know how Garth got the surname Algar.
Garth Algar came from Lisa Algar. Also, I remember going to a screening, the premiere of So I Married an Axe Murderer.
Yeah. Great.
Right, and Mike wasn't in town at that point. And by the way, I barely know Mike. Paul is my dear friend, but I barely know Mike. I've met him a few times, but he wasn't in town for that premiere. But Paul, Lisa, and Arlene Bishop and I went, and because we were tight, man, the four of us, we had a great, beautiful friendship. And there's a scene in that movie where the main character, played by Mike Myers, he receives a gun rack a rifle rack for
Right.
for a gift, and he gets upset, like, you don't even know me, he says to his girlfriend. Well, apparently that girlfriend was in the audience that night because somebody ran out crying, like got up and was like making noise. And so, I mean, that's a poor imitation because I don't really remember.
But how would I know? Like, for all I know, that was spot on.
I suddenly got self-conscious and thought, oh my God, what if she's listening? And then I felt like
She's probably listening. Since the CNN thing, she's probably listening.
yeah, who isn't listening at this point?
Right.
So, so I felt bad because I thought, what if my impression of her was really poor?
That's funny. Now, okay, so we're still in the housekeeping section. This
Yes.
could take an hour, actually.
Go.
So,
Yeah.
well, on your son's recommendation more than yours, but of course your recommendation, I was very excited to have the aforementioned Arlene Bishop on Toronto Mike earlier this year.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of my favorite episodes. She was fantastic.
She was fantastic. Of course, I'm biased, but
Yeah.
it really was great. I thought that her talking about her struggles with autism, with her ADHD, and her just her getting to know herself
Right.
in that way at this point in her life, I thought was really fascinating. And I got to say, it's probably not the kind of conversation that she and I would have ourselves at this point, because we have so much history, and
Right.
we've still even though we're not together, we're divorced, we still have domestic stuff to deal with here and there, sort of domestic housekeeping stuff.
Sure.
So we just wouldn't get around to it. So it was really great to hear her in that forum, basically.
And so thank you for that recommendation. She was fantastic yesterday, actually. And I'll get back to this episode I recorded yesterday with Ian Blurton.
Mm-hmm.
I wore my Coping t-shirt. So she gave me this great black t-shirt that says Coping, and I wore it yesterday.
That's great. I've worn it myself many times. Somebody wore it to a show of mine fairly recently, and I thought that was cool.
Very cool. And also, completely unrelated to Arlene's Toronto Mike debut, I booked Amin Batia.
Yes.
Like unrelated because of the CFNY thing, and then I caught wind of this. He's on the Thriller album by Michael Jackson. I don't know if you've ever heard that album, but
yeah, I've heard of it. Yeah.
So I book it, and then it's revealed that when I invite Amin, the person replying that I didn't know it was actually Arlene Bishop. Like, it was such a wild coincidence.
She's worked with Amin. I introduced the two of them way back when Arlene and I were married, and Amin, I got a job on a TV show that Amin was too busy to do. So his
What TV show?
It's Destiny Ridge. It was on Global Television, and I was scoring it. And so I scored this show. By the way, there was a sexy character on the show, and every time she appeared, I was supposed to play slide guitar. So I had to go when she'd appear. But anyway, Amin at that point was just had mentioned to me that he needed an assistant, and I said, well, Arlene Bishop would be really good, because she's, despite being on the autism spectrum and having ADHD, she's really good with details, and she's also really good with anticipating people's needs. So as an assistant, those are great skills, and they've worked together for forever, ever since then, and that would have been from about 1995.
It's a wild coincidence, is what I'm saying here.
Yeah, it really is. I didn't know you didn't know.
No, I had no idea there was any connection between Arlene Bishop and Amin Batia.
Yep.
Who got royally effed. Can I say the F word? Royally effed because he doesn't get it. Forget the money he missed out on, but the credit. The credit on the Thriller album, there is no Amin Batia credit.
Right. That happens sometimes, and it's awful.
Has it ever happened to Blair Packham? Where you perform something you created musically appeared on an album without credit?
Well, yes, I can think of one example. I was going to make a joke, and
there's no funny on this program.
No,
do you not listen?
You're right. REM released something that I engineered, and it has no credit on it. It was a live recording from Larry's Hideaway. It was a bonus disc that came with the, 30th anniversary of Murmur, their debut album on IRS.
Right.
And I recorded them in 1982, July of 82, at Larry's Hideaway. And I was the engineer. And a lot of the time when I worked with really famous people, Doug McClement was the engineer. But in this case,
FOTM Doug McClement.
Yeah, but he was away, and I was left in charge. And I sat with their manager in the truck, Jefferson Holt, and he called out whenever I needed to turn up the echo or whatever, and then that was for CFNY, and we were in the habit of not writing credits on the tape box. I'm not sure why. Probably should have, but I wrote the song list and the timing, and that's it.
Right.
And then that got released without any of my knowledge, because of course my name wasn't on it, so nobody knew. It got released, I guess, in whenever that was, in the early 2000s.
Wow.
Or
Okay.
something like that.
So
yeah.
these are big names: Michael Jackson, REM. I have a fact check. Shout out to Robert Lawson, but this is actually coming from the most recent FOTM Hall of Famer, VP of Sales. Although on the live stream he calls himself the VP of No Sales. And then because we talked about Arlene, we have to talk about another woman in your life who's also on the live stream. So VP says the gun rack scene. That's not from So I Married an Axe Murderer.
Oh, it isn't. Okay.
That's from Wayne's World.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, it seemed a little. As I was telling that story, I was thinking, it seemed a little wacky for So I Married an Axe Murderer, which is much less of a wacky
So
comedy.
here's the quote.
Yeah.
I don't even own a gun, let alone many guns that would necessitate an entire rack. Okay. And
There you go.
fun fact about VP, Wayne's World was his first date with his ex-wife.
Wow.
So there you go. That's a fun VP fact.
Wow.
Okay. But there's another woman I see I believe all the way from Manitoba, a fine province. In a minute I'll talk about Saskatchewan. Another fine
fine
These are all the
province,
fine
yeah.
provinces I personally have never been to.
Oh, we got to go join a band, because then you'll get to visit all those places.
That's what Ian was telling me yesterday. He was
I
telling me
know.
all the places in
He listed.
Regina.
I know, in Saskatchewan and Regina, and I know, and I was thinking, I played a few, but not nearly as many as he did.
Well, you got to. There's room for you in Change of Heart. We'll get to Change of Heart, so I'm going to go rapid fire. I'm going to just say hello. Her handle on the live stream is Radio Lady. I know her as Sharon Taylor, your driver. Just upset her. And then I realized that that's a fake name too. So hello to Sharon.
Sharon Setterington.
So how many handles does this woman need?
Well, she's got 3.
Hey, well, that's 3 I know of.
Yeah, 3.
Okay.
Oh, actually, no. That's right. Actually, she sometimes uses Flossie and Freddie.
What? Okay, too many.
I know.
Sharon, rein it in, okay?
She's a myth at this point.
And I joke about the driver thing because when I met you for the first time, it was in Pete Fowler's backyard. Oh, she wrote fucker. She just wrote, see, I was trying not to swear, but there it goes, fucker. Okay.
I drove her there. She was in the audience. She
Right.
was my companion at that show. And yes, and it was an auspicious meeting. We met you there, and I played for Pete and a really nice bunch of people. But yes, Sharon was there as my. She accompanied me, and it was great.
And she was a fantastic FOTM.
Yes.
Because she was program director at CFTR, and then she has the KISS, the Mugs and Kisses, the whole country thing going on there. And it was a great radio chat with Sharon Taylor, not her real name. You know who's calling me now? So.
No.
And I don't answer. This is like a Facebook call, but Michael Williams is calling me, and I can't answer it because I don't have 3 hours right now.
Oh, is it a commitment?
Just he's gonna want to chat about stuff, and I like him very much. But if he wants to chat, I got to get him down here on the mic to capture all the gold. You know, no
Have you had
Bowie.
him?
Yeah, a few times. A couple
Yeah, I would
times.
imagine so. Yeah, because he's the word that comes to. Well, he's talkative and lots of stories.
Great stories.
Yeah.
He knows his music, but
Yep.
he's chatty.
Yeah.
And it's if I start that convo, I can go for the bike ride and come back and just pick it up where I left off. Like I totally, but I can't. Yeah, and I'm busy with Blair Packham. So I said I got a cook of gas here. So definitively on the record, Blair Packham.
Yeah.
Have you ever? No. Did you contribute anything musically?
It's so demanding. Yeah. Have you ever?
I feel like it's a chord or something. Did you contribute anything to the tremendous 1992 album "Smile" by Change of Heart?
I did not.
Okay.
Except good vibes. I wish them well.
That breaks the streak.
Yeah.
Okay, because Glenn Milcham was here Monday.
Yep.
And he plays drums on some of the tracks.
Oh, yes, he does.
Of course, Gil Moore. I don't know if you're following this.
I am following it. He played gong, and it was engineered by Bob Wiseman.
So that's you are up to date. I'm really impressed here. So so in order, it was Glenn Milcham came by Monday, and then Gil Moore Tuesday, then Ian Blurden yesterday, and all three, of course Ian, but all three contributed to Smile. And I was just wondering if maybe maybe you hit a triangle or something and it got in there. Or
No,
like that.
no. But I admire those guys. And around that time, I was in a band called Pig Farm with Adam Fox.
Right, FOTM Adam Fox.
Yeah, and Adam is a contemporary and maybe a friend. I'm not sure of Ian's. I don't know.
I'll have to
be
find
honest
out.
with you.
I'll have to find out.
But Adam is playing with me now in my band, so I get to push him around like he did to me in Pig Farm.
What's the name of this band?
My band, The Impossible Dream.
So I didn't know he was in The Impossible Dream. Like I have a note of this trio that's in The Impossible Dream, but I didn't know it included Adam Fox.
Well, yeah, I mean it's Adam. It's both. We're all FOTMs. It's David Steinberg who plays snare drum, and it's Adam Fox who plays electric bass. I had a different Impossible Dream before.
Okay, that's where I'm getting confused because I saw the list of personnel on The Impossible Dream, and you were the only FOTM on the list.
Right. That was when I was working with. Oh, well, you really should have Andy Humphrey on the show. Jim Nielsen was playing bass, and he's a terrific fellow and a great bass player and singer. And Andy Humphrey played drums with us. Not his first instrument. Like he took up drums at my encouragement because I really liked him. I really liked Andy, and he has a beautiful voice, and he's got a really interesting story. Brother of Paul Humphrey from Blue Peter.
Oh, the late great, yeah.
But also an actor, and really, really good guy. So they were my band, and we had a falling out, which bands do, and it was for me it was cataclysmic at the time, but I'm over it now.
What's your current lineup in The Impossible Dream? We will, by the way, we will spend some real time with The Impossible Dream.
Okay. Adam Fox is playing bass. He plays electric bass and sings. And David Steinberg plays snare drum. And the reason I keep saying just snare drum is because that's what he brings. He just brings a snare drum. Doesn't play anything else. He gets a remarkable range of sounds out of that snare drum. But it also gives me an excuse when we do that thing that contemporary musicians have to do now, which I never had to do, and I'm a little resentful about, passing the hat, the tip jar. So I can at least have a reason rather than, please put money in the tip jar so I will, be able to buy groceries or whatever.
Right.
Instead of saying that, I can say, we're trying to raise money to get more drums for David Steinberg. So,
Shadow, I saw him at the Gary Top. There's a book launch.
I wish I'd gone to that. You hosted that.
Yeah. I hosted this panel discussion, and I saw. Yeah, of course, he was with the Mods, right? And the Mods played many Gary's gig.
Yes, and then he played with not the Dead Boys, really, Stiv Bader's band,
right?
The post Dead Boys, but. Really great musician. He was in the Jitters as well, which obviously it's very demanding chops wise, and from there he because the Jitters broke his heart. Basically, he went to law school.
I mean, now he's like one call away from Geddy Lee, but I still can't get Geddy Lee on Toronto Mike. So what's going on there?
He's actually David is the guy who says no. That's his job. If you think that's an in, it's
I'm going to rescind his
it's
FOTM title if he says no.
If you want to get a hold of Geddy Lee, don't go through David Steinberg because his whole job is to say no.
Right. That's how he earns the big bucks.
That's right. Yeah.
Did you ever work with Boot Sauce?
Fuck Boot Sauce. See, I'm up to date.
You know what? You got it going on. And what if I meet Boot Sauce?
Oh, yeah.
And they're sweethearts.
They're probably sweethearts. I've never met them. I don't know them. I don't know anything.
But it's fun to just have this idea of you need a bad guy or whatever. Like the
exactly.
Fuck Boot Sauce. Because all these sweethearts in Canadian rock, you need to have for the yin and yang, you need the dark for the light to come.
Yeah. Well, I can think of a few, but I'm not going to spill.
Shut them out.
No. Some of them are... okay, I'll give you a hint, but I'm not going to elaborate. Okay. One of them is one of your favorite bands ever, and I can point to specific experiences.
Is it Lowest of the Low?
It is not. I love those guys.
Okay, I got to make sure.
Yeah.
One of my favorite. Is it? And it's got to be Rusty.
I will not comment
is it
further.
Scott McAuliffe?
No, but I will not.
Ken?
I will not. Maybe.
I will not
comment. I will not comment further.
Is it the dreadlocks Ken was rocking?
This was in the 90s, so who knows? Maybe these people have
reformed.
Well, there's a short
distance between me loving Fluke and me going to a Bloor West Village diner where the short order cook was Ken. Like that was a very short gap. Yeah. And that was the first time, and I was pretty young, I was a teenager, but that was the first time I realized, the Canadian rock and roll star isn't like isn't like who am I going to pick on? Bob Dylan or whatever. These are not. They might be the guy cooking your grilled cheese. Or
absolutely. What's his name? I'm sorry, that's disrespectful. The late Bob Zegarini. I didn't mean to say what's his name.
No, the Iceman.
Yeah, the Iceman. Bob used to say, Canadian rock star, too poor to have a limo. You'll meet them on the TTC, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So many stories on this show. I think Timbo Vacanti, your buddy, has a story. Does he have the story of seeing Ron Sexsmith on the TTC and saying, "Oh, my girlfriend loves your music. Would you play her birthday party?" And then Ron asks, "Will there be cake? Because I need to bring my daughter." Do you have any memory of this? Like, I feel like that was a Timbo Vacanti story.
That could be. I don't know.
But that's the idea,
story,
like-
though. And it really sounds like Ron.
It's like,
It really
I'll say,
sounds like Ron.
I'm at High Park with my kid. We're just playing house league soccer at High Park, and I'm
Right.
there, and I look over and I go, "Oh, there's one of my there's one of my favorite musicians of all time, and it's Hayden."
Wow.
He's just there he is, and I'm like, "Oh, this fucking Hayden!" Like, I mean, I used to write him like snail mail in the early '90s.
Wow.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so you didn't ever work with Boot Sauce because you've never met Boot.
No,
Sauce.
well, no. Is John Kastner, was that his band?
No, that's no, he's Doughboys.
Oh, Doughboys. That's right. Yeah.
But
from
Doughboys,
Montreal.
so Rusty comes out of Doughboys because Scott McCullough was in Rusty and he quit to start his own band, which was Doughboy.
Oh, okay.
No,
And-
no.
The other
Sorry,
way.
The other way, yeah. He left Doughboys to start Rusty.
Right.
Yeah.
And Michael Philip Voivoda produced Doughboys.
Yeah. Yes, and well, he produced everything, didn't
Yes, he did.
Including Gordon. He came up
Yes.
in yesterday's episode, of
Yeah,
course.
of course, yeah.
'Cause,
He came up in my messages because I wanted to hang out with him, and he's not available on that day. But it was very abrupt, his message.
I can't even, like, I know he lives near, but he, motorcycles over and talks to me about all these great Canadian albums that he produced. I'm talking about Michael Philip Voivoda. Unbelievable. And I feel like you put us in touch. Like, I feel like you are responsible for some tremendous Toronto Mike episodes.
Well, that's nice. I always, as you know, I pester you with ideas.
Yeah, and I think your batting average is so high. I think you said, "Hey, Andrea Romolo," and I said I wasn't sure about who she was, but I said at this point your batting average is pretty high.
Well, I actually was thinking about that on the way into your door, like up your driveway. I was and that's not a euphemism, sir. I was thinking I actually have a suggestion for somebody. I'll suggest off the air.
Right, because you're afraid he'll say no, and then that
if you say
person
no,
will
and then
feel ashamed.
that person.
What if I say because of your batting average being so high, I will say yes to whoever this name is.
Okay, well, I'm not gonna. Well, I will. Okay, because she's.
Is it
great.
a person I know the name? I know who they are.
Probably not. No,
See,
probably not.
That's where it gets. But you've been doing pretty well.
Her name is Cleela Arrington, and she's a singer-songwriter. She's roughly my age. She's made a record with Jimmy Boskill, producing and engineering, and
Blue Rodeo.
the record is beautiful. It's lovely. Now, Cleela has known a lot of people over the years in the Toronto scene, and I just feel like she might have some stories.
Spell that
would be
first
good.
name.
Clela.
Clela.
And then
Cleela.
it's Arrington. And her brand new record, it's really beautiful.
Well, if Cleela's game, I'm telling you, I will do this based on your recommendation. That's how much I value your suggestions.
Okay, well, that's That's
Don't
lovely.
abuse this privilege, because
No.
if you give me a couple of duds in a row, I might
Okay.
cut you off.
All right, well,
okay?
Cleela, don't let me down.
Cleveland, no pressure.
Yeah,
Cleela,
no pressure. Michael Phillip, though, what I regret, actually, a minor regret, but a regret nonetheless, is that I didn't recommend Scott Dobson. I didn't unrecommend him. I just wish I had, because he and Michael Phillip and a few other people that came into my life through Paul Myers. Paul Myers and Scott and Michael were childhood friends, and youthful friends.
Sure.
And I feel so blessed. Michael Phillip, we worked together a few times, and he's very modest and very. I aspire to be more like him. He's very calm.
Well, lest we forget, Blair, you yourself appear on the album Gordon.
I do.
I know.
In fact,
Like that to me. That's a fun fact. That in If I Had $1 Million, the chorus you hear includes Blair Packham
and Arlene Bishop. And by the way, Arlene Bishop refers to Michael Phillip as Michael Phillip won a Juno.
That's good.
Because he did. She's funny.
That's like when you say, "Oh, there's Ian Handsome Man thing."
That's right. Yes, it's very much like that. The Gordon thing. So I teach at Seneca College, and I tell them all about my history, because I want to sort of, quickly, I tell them in my bio in the first class, basically I want to justify why I'm going to tell them why their songs suck or whatever, or why they need to work on their song. Like, I want to justify my my teacher role.
Right.
So I tell them about the Jitters and how I've been writing songs since I was 17, and how the Jitters got a record deal with Capitol Records, the Beatles label, and we toured Canada 100 times, and there we are. I hear us right there, and we played Wembley Arena 3 nights in a row, and all of that stuff. They go, mm-hmm. They have no reaction, and then I say, and I co-wrote the words to Beyblade.
Oh yeah.
And they all go, "Oh my God, no way!" And it's amazing.
I can believe that. This happens to be sometimes these like boomer icons, and I'm like, I missed all of that, but he appeared on Larry Sanders Show or something, and it's like that's all I kind of know this person from or whatever.
Right.
Okay, because the other song takes a lot of the oxygen, but this was big radio hit thanks to Sharon playing it on CFDR so often. Hold on. Honestly, Blair, you wrote this?
I wrote it with with 3 other members of the Jitters.
Did it come together relatively quickly, or like?
Yeah, we loved that beat, that "You Can't Hurry Love" Motown thing.
See, I hear "Gone so long, you've been gone so long,
Oh,
you've been
funny.
gone so long."
Never thought of that, but
there, that's a common beat. You should.
yeah, boom bap boom bap boom, that thing, and we thought. I've had people come up to me and say, sort of confidentially, as if they're letting me in on something, that lyric, the chorus is kind of dirty, right? It gets bigger every single time I'm near you. And it's like, yes, we did that on purpose.
You dirty son of a bitch.
Well, we just thought it would be funny to have a pop song that did that. We wrote that well before we had a record deal, so it was just kind of funny to play it live. We also had a song called "Stick It In" and "Give It a Twist," we became a pop band when we made this record, and we were a rock band before with a bit of attitude, and we were kind of Well,
this is very radio friendly.
Well, yeah, and at that point, we were happy to be friendly to radio. This song was used by the Edmonton Oilers in 1988. Every time they hit the ice, every time they scored a goal, and they won the Stanley Cup. This is during the playoffs.
That was the last Stanley Cup won by the Great Ones.
Yep, exactly.
See what I did there?
Yeah, well done.
Okay, thank you very much. And I can do that now that I was on CNN. Okay, so let's quickly tell the story about what happened to me last weekend. It was just last weekend, and then we're going
story.
to. Yeah, it's my wife is.
Wait, why do we have to quickly
here's the
tell
thing.
that
So
story? Let's.
we can sit on it, and then I'm going to give you some swag, and then
Okay.
I got some more music, and then we're really going to get into the Impossible Dream. This is
Okay.
going to be a hell of an appearance. And and then I should tease this because somebody a big fan of yours, also listened to another podcast you were on and pulled a clip from it and wants me to ask you about it. Okay, and then don't worry, you're not going to be mad at me for this. Okay, I don't want
I'm never
Blair
mad at
Packham mad at me. Okay,
No.
I couldn't live with myself if that were the case. Okay, so I got a text from you inviting my wife and I, Monica and I, to a house party at your home.
Mm-hmm.
And your home is east of Yonge. Well, just east of Yonge.
Yes.
We can say East
don't
York.
give it away.
We can say
I
East
mean,
York.
if you ever find yourself on one of those East York Stars of East York bus tours, they will point it out.
East York is a big borough. We can say East York. Okay. A lot of great FOTMs in East York, but that comes into the story. So I said to my wife, hey, we were invited to Blair Packham. She's been to one of the house parties at this location before. We met Lori Cullen there.
Yes.
Bob Wagner. These are great FOTMs we met at this house party, okay? I saw Robert Priest was there. He's an FOTM. So basically, we had a discussion, and we couldn't get babysitting, so she's going to stay home with the now and since then turned 11 years old because his birthday was yesterday.
Yes, happy birthday, Jarvis.
Happy birthday, Jarvis, who loved learning drums from David Quinton Steinberg.
That's great.
Like he's been talking about wanting to take drum lessons. Okay, so I was going to go solo, and of course, I bike to all my destinations year-round, so I'm going to go on a bike ride to East York. I'm sitting here in South Etobicoke. Get a map and take a look at what I'm talking about here. So I said, it's like an 8 o'clock start, but I have a bad habit of getting to things at the time they start, because I can atomically time when you bike, you know exactly how long it's going to take you, unless you blow a tire, which is very rare, thankfully. Okay, so I said, let's time it so I get there at like 8:25 or something. So I'm not the first one there. But I get there and I can tell there's no one there. And I'm at this destination. It took 90 minutes to get there. Not a warm day either. It was kind of a cold night. And I have cold GLB in my backpack because I always bring the delicious fresh craft beer from Great Lakes Brewery. By the way, you're leaving home with some fresh craft beer.
Fantastic.
So I'm now at the destination, which is your home. I'm here for a party. I can see no one else. And I think, maybe I'm too early. Maybe these 8 o'clock starts are like code for don't come till 9. Like, I don't know how the real world, I don't know how the world works.
Right.
Like, don't say 8 unless you want me there at 8, because that's how my stupid brain works.
Right.
Okay. So I phone you and you answer. I go, hey, am I too early? Like, should I go for a ride and come back? And you're like, you said, yeah, you're 3 weeks early.
Yeah. I was surprised that you said that you had trouble arranging babysitting. I'm thinking, for 3 weeks from now? Like that, like you guys plan ahead, man. And so when you said that, and you said, Monica can't come, we're having trouble arranging babysitting, I'm like,
I said, can I come solo?
Yeah. And here's the thing, I would have invited you in, we would have had a hang, it would have been great.
Right.
I was actually in the middle of a conversation with a friend and it was a pretty heavy conversation, and like you
didn't have time for me.
We were sort of breaking up, and
on that note, not that we need to dive too deep, but when you came to TMLX 15 last summer, you were with a lovely woman. You're no longer with that woman.
No, that actually ended at the end of the summer, I'm sorry to say. And
did it end because of your experience at TMLX 15?
It was specifically because of that. They
didn't enjoy the palma pasta.
No, it was the boat that you got for a gift.
The kayak, which I can't wait to get back.
Yeah.
It's only April. I got to wait for a little warmer weather, but I can't wait to get back out there.
Yes, she didn't like.
Did you
kayak.
Contribute to the kayak fund?
I actually didn't. I escaped that somehow. Nobody asked me.
It's not too late. I think VP was organizing that. So.
Okay, well, I'll get in touch with VP, but no, I didn't.
Cheap son of a bitch.
I was never approached about it, and I never saw it because at that point I wasn't a participant in the.
The WhatsApp group. Well, he had to create he didn't want me in the group.
Yes.
Right. So he had to kind of he took this FOTM group and recreated it. Minus me,
right?
But you weren't in it,
and I don't. Well, he may have invited me, and I may not, but I just didn't go on WhatsApp, so I don't want to make it his fault.
Well, cut a check to VP for that. Okay, so 3 weeks. So I don't know. Yeah. So and it's just coincidentally, and this kind of ties into the conversation I had with your ex-wife, where she had this adult diagnosis of ADHD, and I've been told by all of my lovers and friends for many, many years that. By the way, VP asked you via Instagram.
He did?
Yeah.
Sorry, VP. I didn't
Honestly,
register that.
You're not leaving here without maybe put a $50 bill on the table before you go. But the conversations we're having about ADHD, I had a fundamental misunderstanding about the AD part versus the HD part, because I did these very self-diagnosis, no psychiatrist involved, because I don't actually want to treat whatever it is. And I didn't really understand that you can have just the HD part and have none of the AD part, and you're still ADHD. So
I didn't know that either.
So there's two columns: an AD part, which is attention deficit, and that's typically like you can't keep a schedule, you can't multitask, you're late for things. Like I'm not any of these things. I'm a kick-ass multitasker, and I'm the opposite of late for things, and I can organize all this. And anyways, there's no AD part as far as I can tell. I can watch The Brutalist in one sitting, and I don't go on a device. I don't even fidget.
Right.
I don't have the AD part. But Blair Packham,
yes,
I'm like to the I'm off the charts.
To the
with
brim.
The HD part, off the charts. And this might be why I bike 50K a day as like my coping mechanism for the HD part. So I fundamentally misunderstood this whole, I thought you needed to have these 2 columns. And I didn't feel any of this ADHD applied to me because I have 0 of the AD part. I'm fully loaded off the chart HD. So all this is swirling around. But one of the AD parts that I disown, if you will, is this missing details. And we were having this conversation literally like the day that I was 3 weeks early for your function. And I had to, when I told Monica, and I did make I made lemonade out of these lemons because I had cold GLB in my backpack. I was in East York, and I knew my buddy Chris Cooksey. Shout out to Cooksey. I knew he lived fairly close to you, and I phoned him up, and then he smoked some weed in the backyard and drank some GLB while I just downed some GLB in his backyard that night. So I actually had a fine night in East York last weekend, and I took my bike ride home. So it all worked out.
I'm glad to hear that because my conversation on the phone ended up going longer, and it was fine. Everything was good. Okay. But
are you an item?
I'm solo.
Exes. Okay. You're single.
But we're still friends, and it was a really good conversation. And so
it all worked out for everybody. But this didn't help my case, is what I'm saying. When I had to report back that I was 3 weeks early for the Blair Packham house party.
But I would say this so I don't want to in any way minimize the ADHD thing for anybody, and so I don't want to giving a layman's diagnosis. I would say, though, you are that. You have those. I think it's your superpower.
I agree,
and I think that
it's why Toronto Mike is so successful.
Well, yeah, and I think likewise, Paul Myers. Very like, I'm attracted to people who have those qualities.
I'm attracted to you too, buddy.
But I feel like it's a spark of life, I mean, in the olden days when we wouldn't diagnose pathologize ourselves to the same degree,
right?
We'd say, well, he's a bit scattered, or we'd have names for it. I think it's better that we pathologize, but I also think there's a danger in labeling yourself, and I think that also we tend to focus on the negatives, and I really think there's a lot of positives that come from that particular condition, because all the people I know who now are finding out that they have that, including Arlene Bishop, to whom I was married for years because I just loved that quality in her.
Right.
Those qualities. Anyway, I just think there's a danger of making it all negative, and it's not. It's only a negative if you have trouble coping, if you have trouble with your executive functions.
Right. You can't keep a job.
Yeah,
you can't
those
hold down a
things,
relationship. It affects your relationship, your parenting, etc.
But those things are obviously negative. But and so getting a handle on it, of course, is a great thing. But I'm just saying, it's also a positive thing.
No,
like most things in life, it's somewhere in the middle.
So this whole realization, you can have like the HD part without the AD part, and you'd still be labeled ADHD or whatever. My daughter had a diagnosis, and she's exactly like me, but like 10% of me in all the ways. And then she was telling her psychiatrist about, this HD behavior for me, multiply it by 10, and that's my dad or whatever. So it's like, I feel like I was diagnosed like via proxy, by proxy. Okay. So, Blair, it's funny that your real date of your house party is the same night I'm at a soccer game with my son from 8 to 9, but I think I might bike to that match and then bike to you. Does your party go? How late do these Blair Packham parties go? I just want to know.
Not as late as they used to. They used to go to
what time
3
is
or 4
that?
in the morning. Now they probably go till 1.
Well, okay. Well, I'm gonna be. I won't be in danger of arriving too early because I'm gonna come after 9:30 or so, maybe. And actually, it's a long ride. It might be 10 o'clock. Okay. So I look forward to the real date. I want to give you some. I want to give you something.
Okay.
It's a wireless speaker from Moneris.
It's a great. I've received one of these from you before, and I love it, and I use it all the time.
Okay, well, maybe there's one for Owen.
Yeah, absolutely. That's fantastic.
Because season 8 of Yes, We Are Open is dropping now. The first episode from season 8 has already dropped. Al Grego flew to Regina, Saskatchewan, and he visited Kevin Toth, president of Prairie Flying Service. Can you say that for me? Prairie Flying Service.
Prairie Flying Service.
So you have to stop right after prairie. Like
Well,
my mouth
yes.
doesn't roll into it. I have to stop.
I had to stop before too because the recording engineer in me does not want to have the plosive on the prairie. The Prairie Flying Service. Yeah, you can't.
It's tough,
say it
right?
Fast. Yeah.
President of Prairie Flying Service.
Well, you did pretty well there.
I've been, 1,669 episodes. To
Yeah,
get
and
that
by the way, I
excellent.
want to be Ronnie the limo driver for a moment and just say 69.
I thought about making a 69 joke, but I'm too mature for that.
Well, the thing is, when we get to the measuring tape,
Let's go next. Okay, I'll do it next.
Oh, is it next? Okay.
Well, I'll just say Al and Kevin delved into the storied history and rich legacy of the company, which began in 1946. So, Blair, you were just a kid back then. Founded by 4 World War II pilots. So, listen to season 8 of Yes, We Are Open, wherever you get your podcasts. Shout out to FOTM Al Grego. Please accept from me a measuring tape from Ridley Funeral Home. We recorded a fresh episode of Life's Undertaking, Brad Jones's excellent podcast. We dropped it yesterday, so you can hear Brad and I. Brad went to Exeter, Ontario. Is a little town I drive through on my way to the Pinery, and Exeter is where the independent funeral home owners of Ontario were meeting, and we had a great chat about what he's learned, and it was fantastic. And I would love to hear your measuring tape joke, Blair. Let's go.
Well, I have noted that every single time I make it's either measuring your manhood or measuring your casket, right? So then I thought, well, I got to look up so I was just scrolling through them now, so I haven't necessarily picked the best one, but I did look up I Googled measurement jokes, and
wow.
So what is the unit of measurement used to measure electricity?
I don't know.
I'm prompting you that you didn't say the quite right thing. You have to say, what?
Oh, geez.
And then I say, correct.
I find these annoying. The jokes where you need a specific response.
I know,
It's like,
I know.
They can go sideways so easily, right? So
Yeah.
it's like,
Okay. It's crazy that they only have one unit of measurement in North Korea. A supreme liter. Okay, that's
all
enough.
right, not
though.
bad. But you got that measuring tape. Measure what you wish. By the way, you mentioned measuring a casket.
Yes.
Ridley Funeral Home only sell Canadian caskets. Did you know that?
I didn't know that, but that's good to know.
It's good to know.
Yeah.
And speaking of Canadian companies, all my sponsors are actually Canadian companies.
Yes.
Silver Wax is on board for all of April. So you pick the right date to drop by. And they have been proudly Canadian since 1999. That's not about to change. Silver Wax makes, what kind of car are you driving these days?
I'm driving a Mini Cooper.
That's cool.
It is cool. I love it. Whenever I get in it, I'm excited. But you know what it needs?
What?
It needs a good polishing and waxing.
Honestly, you've come to the right place because Silver Wax makes pro-grade auto care and cleaning technology easy for everyone to use. They have kits for beginners, experts, or professionals. Everything you need. Blair, this is amazing. I can't even believe I'm saying these words. I am sending you home with a robust cleaning technology kit from Silver Wax. See that big bucket?
Yeah.
It's loaded with stuff that'll help you clean that Mini inside and out. And these spray bottles as well, interior and exterior detailing. You're going to have the cleanest car in East York.
That's so.
That's real.
Seriously,
I'm serious.
When I sat down here, I saw the Silver Wax stuff, and of course, because I'm an avid listener, I knew that they were a sponsor.
Right.
But I was looking and thinking, oh man, I could use that for my Mini. But there's no way that I'm getting the whole bucket.
You're getting the whole bucket,
Yeah.
and listeners can save 10% on these kits if they go to silverwax.ca and just use the promo. This really helps the show too. So if you're like, I want to support this. This is amazing. Gil Moore came over and he doesn't remember playing gongs on
on Change of Heart.
On Change of Heart, Smile. No memory of it. And then the great FOTM Bob Wiseman makes an appearance in this story. And Ian's only triggered, like he forgot, but Bobsy is credited with engineering this gong hit. Like amazing. Okay, so the promo code to use at silverwax.ca is Toronto Mike 10, Toronto Mike 10. At checkout, you use that promo code, you save 10%. And then Silver Wax knows that it pays to sponsor great programs like Toronto Mike. See how it works?
Yeah, it works well. I guess if you say Toronto Mike 90, then you get 90%
You can
off.
try that. Keep going down, 80, 70, until you get to 10, and then
Right.
it might actually work for you.
Right.
I'm going to give love to my other, of course, will you, Blair Packham, be at TMLX18 on, what day is that going to be? June 26th. From 6 to 9 p.m., we're at Great Lakes Brewery. Will you make an appearance?
Why, Yes, I'm checking my calendar, and yes, it's
It would mean a lot.
Thursday.
I'll come to your party if you come to mine.
Yes, I will come 3 weeks
Well,
early.
Palma Pasta is going to feed you.
This is TMLX
18.
18, yes.
Yeah,
And-
June 26th. Everyone's invited.
And it's at GLB?
GLB Brew Pub not Brew Pub. Sorry, I got to make sure. I'm gonna fix that in post. Great Lakes Breweries, their
The Lakeshore.
HQ, which is like I'm gonna say, it's 30 Queen Elizabeth Boulevard, but it's very close to like Queensway in Royal York.
Yes, and the time it starts?
6 to 9 p.m. I need Blair there all 3 hours, and bring David Quinton Steinberg, and bring any of these great FOTMs. Bring Tim
I will
Bovacanti.
do what I can. I believe I heard a commitment yesterday from Ian Blurton that he would be reuniting. He'd be reuniting the band for
Yeah.
yes.
I got to follow up on that. That's
Yeah.
got to happen.
It was a very casual invitation, and it was a very casual response. He said, "Yeah, that sounds good." And I thought,
I think that's binding. I think he just signed a contract there.
yeah, I will commit. I will be there, whether change of heart is there or not.
Well, that's all I care about. This is a fun fact you probably are aware of because I was doing some searching on YouTube for the Jitters, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that Big Bad Voodoo Daddy has a song called The Jitters?
I did, and I've never listened to it. I'm sorry to say.
Well, you don't have to apologize for that. But I just think that that's Big Bad Voodoo Daddy stealing some of the SEO thunder from the Jitters. I think that's bullshit.
It's bullshit. I'm mad now, and I'm Paul Harvey. Hey, hear those finger snaps?
Who's snapping there?
I don't remember who did it, but it was a sample. Like it was a sample of somebody in the band or several people in the band.
Is it Gilmore?
No. Might have been Paul Gross. Might have been Randy Cook, who plays drums with Ringo.
Wow.
Yeah, but they were sampled and played by Randy Cook. Like they were in an AMS sample box, and he pressed the button every time the snare drum or the finger snaps were supposed to play.
Well, it's a catchy as fuck song that you wrote here, and I know in previous Toronto Mic'd episodes you've been over many times. We have covered in great detail how this. I think you were vacuuming or something.
Yeah, I was vacuuming, and we had been told Bob Ezrin was producing the Jitters. You should get Bob on. Boy,
I actually have tried because he started appearing mainstream media anyway, like CBC shows and big shows, because he's talking about rescinding his American citizenship.
Yeah, he's I believe he's moved back.
Well,
so,
can you broker this?
No, I can't. But no, only because Bob and I haven't really been in touch since then.
Still, your name. I mean, I tried and I didn't get any replies.
Well, who was I? I was talking to somebody the other day who hangs out with Bob.
Alice Cooper?
I'll do. Yeah, it was either that or Lou Reed.
Shout out to Ridley Funeral Home.
Yeah, that's right. I will ask. But anyway, Bob said that he was slated to produce a record for Cyndi Lauper, which he did not end up doing because that happens all the time.
Right.
And he said, but she needs songs. And so I was like, my brain went, okay. And as I was vacuuming, I started thinking. I had the title. Doug McClement came up with the title unwittingly, and I thought that's a good song title. And then from there, I started writing "I've Been a Fool." So as I vacuumed,
catchy. I'm telling you, now it's going to be in everybody's like a brainworm or whatever you call that.
I was vacuuming. I don't know that I've ever told this part of the story. I was vacuuming at John Wynot's house. Do you know John Wynot?
I think I know this name, but why do I know this name?
He
Tell
produced
me.
a bunch of albums for Colin Linden. I believe he produced a Jeff Healey album.
You know, Lyndon's another guy I'm trying to. I know he's big and famous and too cool for me or whatever, but I have.
He's definitely too cool for you. Yeah.
I've had Stephen Fearing.
Fearing.
Right, Fearing.
Yeah.
And of
Stephen's
course, Tom
great.
Wilson many times. I feel like I need Colin Linden.
Yeah, well, Colin's coming to play a show in Hamilton, apparently, and therefore he'll be in the neighborhood.
We'll go kidnap him.
Yeah. I'm going to see Rick Emmett play tomorrow night.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
He's a great... I told that story to Gil, how you drove him to Christie Pitts.
Oh, did you tell that story? Because I didn't finish the Gil one. I want to finish it. Gil was great. Very lively, very present.
I know.
Yeah,
he's funny, right?
He's funny. Gil was great.
I know, and he wears these shades, so I don't see his eyes. So he's in these shades, and And I thought Gil was, and I wasn't, the way that worked is they said he was going to come on and just, there's a great Music Monday where all these students across the country are going to sing. What's the song called? Hold On?
Hold On, the Triumph song.
Yeah, the big, great. You know, I miss Triumph. So this is my problem. Whenever I do a lot of this Rick Emmett and this Gil Moore stuff, but I really am, that is like homework I'm doing because I do know the hits a little bit, but because of my age, Triumph was like done. And they weren't, you know, when I started listening to 680 CFTR in like the early to mid 80s and started discovering top 40 and stuff, like I wasn't hearing any Triumph. I wasn't listening to any Q107 at that time.
No, it's funny. I became friends with Rick before I knew much about Triumph at all. So yeah. Rick and I were co-vice presidents of the Songwriters Association of Canada, and I just loved him. And we just got on like a house on fire. It was great. He's a very likable guy, and really you're a likable guy, and you drove him to Christie Pitts, and Gil was great too. But the only time I had any professional contact with Triumph was opening for Rick Emmett at an arena in London, Ontario, with the Jitters.
Wow,
and that was it. Now, but I want to say this because you mentioned Hold On. The show that I played at Hughes Room recently was called the Toronto Songbook, and it featured yours truly, but also wearing the coping shirt. I'm just showing you how everything ties together. Yeah. The coping shirt from Arlene Bishop, Chris Tate from Chalk Circle.
Wow.
And M. Greiner.
I love M. Greiner. She's been over.
Stacey Tabb, who I had never heard sing until that show. I had met her when she used to work at Service Ontario in a Canadian Tire outlet at Lakeshore and Leslie, and she and I met her and she said something like, I don't know why, but we started talking about music. I said, "Oh, I make music." She said, "So do I," and that was like in 2009.
Wow!
Or something. So then she's on the bill for the show, and finally Talia Schlanger, and
who I loved.
There were at least 2 Triumph songs played in that show. Talia sang "Lay It on the Line" and did this haunting,
that's a big one,
beautiful version. And M. Greiner, Chris Tate did "Hold On" as a ska song. And it was 2 Triumph songs. So I made a video at Soundcheck and sent it to Rick, and he seemed so touched. His response was like, "Oh my God, that's so great." You know, it was really nice.
And that reminds me where I was going, which is that through this third party, they said, "Oh, I could have, I can have 20 minutes with Gil to talk about this Music Monday thing." And then I explained how it works around here. Like, we will do 20 minutes, but after I do 40 minutes and something else. And I basically, like not fairly tough, like I had to do this negotiation that Gil would agree to 60 minutes, but Gilmore was late.
Yes.
And he apologized for that. Right. But because he was late, I decided I'm going to take it out but I'm going to go longer than 60 minutes. Like, I decided to ignore the 60-minute thing we agreed to, and I went 80 minutes with Gilmore.
That's great. I think...
But it was going to be 20 minutes, and I fought for 60, and I stole 20 more minutes.
I think that's
great. And he didn't regret that.
And I don't think he regretted it a bit. I've got to listen to the rest of it, but
He's probably cleaning his car right now with silver wax.
With silver wax, yeah.
Jeez.
No, he's a good guy.
No, he's a great guy.
Yeah, so... I enjoyed that episode, but I want to hear more of that on my way home. That's what I'm going to listen to. Or maybe I'll listen to this one. I'll listen to this one all the way home.
Then we better start making this one good, okay?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
A couple of mop-ups on the live stream, live.torontomike.com.
Mm-hmm.
The brother says, and I guess we were talking about how Ken was serving food, was cooking food in Bloor West Village. Last week, I saw Paul Dean of Loverboy in line at the Woodbine Casino, Timmy's, an hour before their show. It was a surreal moment. So that's very different. He's not working at the Timmy's.
Yeah,
not that there's anything wrong with that, but he wanted a coffee, and Paul Dean got his own coffee, and that's how it is in Canada.
I saw Stuart Copeland in line at the Sbarro in Times Square, probably 1982.
Right. They're just regular people. Like, you are a rock star, so you know.
He was at that time, as I understand it, he was scoring Rumblefish, I think. Oh, yeah. And the studio was probably nearby, and he probably felt like a pizza slice.
Yeah, sometimes you want
human
a pizza.
Beings. It's funny.
Paul Dean wanted a coffee.
Yeah, even Paul Dean would like coffee once in a while.
That's they're just like you and I. Okay.
I know.
Speaking of just like you and I, Sharon Taylor.
She's just like you and I.
She just points out that "Stick It In and Give It a Twist" was a good song.
Oh, that's nice that she said so. Yes, and of course, the metaphor in that song is it's a knife. It's an argument where, we're not just going to have an argument. You're going to stick it in and give it a twist. But of course, there's a sexual double entendre happening, folks.
You're a horny guy, eh, Blair?
Well, especially in the 80s, that was back when, when I still had hormones. I'm in my 60s now. So.
No more hormones.
No, they're all gone. Any hormones I might have had, they're all gone. But yes.
I teased, maybe on a Toronto Mic'd episode, I teased that I have in my calendar the debut of the rapper known as Snow, Darren O'Brien. Mm-hmm. And you said that you have a Snow story.
Well, my Snow story is we toured, we did a songwriter tour together. He very bravely accepted a gig on this tour that I put together for the Songwriters Association of Canada. We crossed the country in a tour bus, and he was one of several artists on that tour. And we, it was one of those songwriters sitting on stage taking turns kind of tours, and song circle, you might call it, except we were in a line. But Snow didn't have accompaniment for himself, and we didn't want him to be playing tracks. Like, we didn't want a DJ or anything like that. So I played acoustic guitar, and he and I rehearsed before, and he sang and I sang harmonies, and it was good.
Do you remember what he sang?
I wish I could remember the names. Those songs were really
I only want to be like with you.
That's one.
Dun,
Yep.
dun, dun,
Yep.
dun. Yeah, that's
Yep.
a catchy song too.
Yeah, that's really catchy. From that
Everybody
album.
wants to be like you. Something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. And he did a version of Infama. Skiddly baddly doodly infam.
Did you do the rap part, the MC Shan part? Did
No,
you do that?
but that's when I wanted to sing along, I would go skiddly daddly doodly, skiddly daddly doodly infama.
You're lickety boom boom down.
Yeah, that's right.
By the way, you're a Toronto guy, and I think you'd appreciate what an interesting piece of Toronto history that I'm going to uncover in great detail when I have Snow in the basement. And Snow's in the basement because his manager is an FOTM, Paul Farberman.
Oh, Paul's managing Snow. I didn't know that. I know Paul for 100 years too. Say hello to Paul.
I will. Paul hit it out of the park. He was at the recording of Tears Are Not Enough. He was a lawyer who was signing people in. He's a music entertainment lawyer guy, sort of like David Quinton Steinberg.
Yeah, well, I would say, I don't know if this is actually true, but I would say Paul would have been a mentor of sorts to David Quinton Steinberg.
And Geddy Lee was also at the Tears Are Not
That's
Enough
right.
recording, even though the Triumph guys were not.
So was Mark Holmes. Oh.
He was in a limo. That's right.
Yes, I know.
Why? I know you do. Yeah. You were too young.
I was too young and too unfamous, I think they call it. I've
just
returned to that state, by the way, the state of unfame.
Well, I don't know. FOTMs would disagree here.
Very briefly, my flame flickered. Anyway.
I have two last notes, and then we're going to talk about the Impossible Dream, and I pulled some songs, and I have some questions.
Okay.
And, somebody's passed away. I'm hoping you'll remember for us here. Tyler says, do you have any memories about engineering a children's album which featured Lubagoy? And this children's album was called Bubblegum and Other Yummy Kids Tunes. Does that resonate at all with you? Bubblegum and Other Yummy Kids Tunes.
It does sound familiar, but that would have been in my Comfort Sound days, and I did a lot of work. I did a lot of
engineering.
Yeah, a lot of engineering. So, and I do remember working with Lubagoy, but I don't remember specifically that album. So.
Okay, fair enough. There's a podcast called No Sleep Till Sudbury.
Yes.
And the host's name is?
Brent Jensen.
Okay, and he lives in Sudbury?
No, that title comes from a book that he wrote, where I mean, maybe he's from Sudbury. I can't remember, but he wrote a book, and it's all about the music that he and his friend played going up on this trip, and it's about songs that he loves.
Spin on the Beastie Boys, No Sleep Till Brooklyn.
Yeah, and so he called the podcast that, and I've been on a couple of times.
For some reason I thought he was in Sudbury.
No, he's in
Toronto.
He's in Brooklyn, that part of Whitby where the Swingers.
So he's in Brooklyn, and it's not called No Sleep Till Brooklyn, spelled our way.
But I don't think he lived in Brooklyn at the time when he came up with the name. It's funny. Brooklyn spelled a different way.
Yeah, but, I know. I used to know a guy named Fred who lived in Brooklyn, and it is spelled differently. But okay, so I'm going to read a quote from you.
Yeah.
So you're nervous right now?
Yeah. Because I run my mouth.
You were too. You've got too comfortable on this program, Blair. We're gonna mix things up. Okay, so.
Oh no.
Okay, so I'm gonna read it verbatim.
Okay.
But you're speaking.
Why don't I read it? Because it's me. Like, if I read it, then it'll be in my voice.
Well, because it would be a pain in the ass to get it to you to read it, so that's why. Okay, so I was on a podcast where they did an in memoriam segment. So they talk about people from the world of entertainment, sports, broadcasting, people who had passed, and music as well. And so when they would talk about someone who died, who maybe maybe they were one-hit wonders, or they'd had this particularly cheesy song, whatever it was, they would joke about it. And I got mad because I'm thinking, these people died and you're making a joke because they put out this cheesy song. Like, I don't know, you don't have to be like, you don't have to bow down. You don't have to turn it into, you don't have, again, you're speaking, so that's why it sounds like this. You don't have to cry because they died. You didn't know them. But at the same time, maybe a little more respectful, because these are human beings who died and they have families who loved them. And they're not a figure that was made famous for your amusement. So this is a quote from this, and I didn't hear it, so I don't know what your tone was like.
I was much more articulate,
okay,
but yeah.
But it's so this is somebody who I will keep nameless.
I know exactly who it is. Yeah.
Thinks that you're referring to Toronto Mike.
He is correct. I know exactly who tattled on me. I'm not surprised.
But it is a public podcast.
Yes, but
so
I'm not surprised. But it was reported to you. But and I'll tell you why. I don't mind, because I stand by it 100%.
Let's hear it.
I stand by it 100%. I would sometimes get annoyed listening to your in memoriam segments, because let's say somebody from a sitcom died, and
sure.
it was Urkel or somebody like sure. that. Somebody, who could be a figure of fun because they're off in the distance and they're from our childhood or our youth or whatever, and they die.
Right.
They're fucking dead. It's like, to me, they're no longer a figure of fun, in my opinion. This is my opinion, and it's clearly it's somewhat strongly held. It's funny, it's funny you're bringing this up
yeah.
because just before, what were we talking about just before? We were talking about Paul Dean, and we were talking about just regular people.
Sure.
And we were talking about Stuart Copeland being at Sbarro, and I was saying, yeah, they're just human beings and so forth. I was thinking of me having said that because I was thinking, yeah, they're just, of course, they're regular people.
And again, I don't know the specifics, but if Urkel, hopefully Urkel lives to be 200 years old.
Yes, exactly.
But if the actor who played Urkel died, we might play him saying something like, anybody got any cheese or whatever,
right.
and then we might have some fun with the fact that this sitcom was for dummies.
Yeah, but it just, for me, it occasionally crossed a line. That's all. It's not like this is a big axe to grind. There was a
if you have an axe to grind, take it to the hardware store,
exactly.
Blair.
It was a far-flung, far-ranging conversation.
Right.
But it did. I'm just being truthful. It irked me when.
Irk me.
I know.
Urkel,
You see, I could have avoided that, but okay. Let's a real life example. Now, I don't know if you guys referred to this at all. But Marcia Strassman, do you know Marcia Strassman played Mrs. Cotter on Welcome Back, Cotter?
I watched that show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when she passed, I feel like she might have been, because that show was a show that we watched in our youth.
Yeah.
Right. She might have been a target of slight derision by people in an in memoriam segment. But I'm friends with her sister, Julie. I'm dear friends with her sister. And Julie, of course, was very sad and upset when her sister died. And so I can't help but think these are people with families.
But here's my only, because I know what's said on these microphones and stuff. But,
yes.
I would say, so in that example, please remind me the name of this actress from Welcome Back.
Marcia Strassman.
So Marcia?
Yeah.
Okay. So when Marcia passed, we would remember her character from Welcome Back, Kotter. I don't think there would be an ounce of belittling her as a human being. I think that we all liked watching that show. I don't think that show was meant for Mensa candidates. I think that was a fun show that we all enjoyed in syndication. I know. I think most of the Sweat Hog is dead except for John Travolta. Like, I feel like we've lost a lot of people to Sweat Hogs.
Yeah.
But I don't. So I mean, maybe you're being a little sensitive on this. I think you could have a little fun with the. He would. I think her role would be to kind of. I think at the end of every episode, Gabe Kaplan would tell a joke. Do you remember this to Marcia?
Yes.
Like, I think we're separating a character.
Yeah.
And I think all of us would say, oh, amazing to have a full-time role on a popular sitcom. Like, I don't think we're belittling that in any way.
No, but would you like? Okay, so maybe it's not a great example.
Example, but so I don't know, and maybe my we're not naming him. Is that on purpose, or do you want to name him?
I don't care.
Okay,
I mean, I don't care, except I think he has the impression I don't like him, and I do.
Well, you thought you worked with him at CIUT.
Yeah, it was a mistake.
And there was
and so I made
difference.
I made an ongoing joke about it that apparently he took really seriously.
Well, you
so
did an
he can be
impression of him in
sensitive.
your first
Oh
visit.
yeah, I think my impression is quite good.
You want to do one now?
No,
because we don't have him
because
on these
now if he's
microphones.
bringing this stuff up, I sort of feel like, oh man, he's.
But actually,
you
in
know.
his defense, I believe he shared this in the aforementioned FOTM WhatsApp group in which you are a member. Like, so he
Right.
wasn't sharing this behind your back.
Oh, I don't care
Okay,
about that.
okay.
No.
And it was just a quotes from something you said in another podcast, because it was clear you were talking about Toronto Mike. So I only have two issues with it. It's your opinion. My issue is, one is, how dare you pull this hour has 22 minutes on me? And why not, instead of saying I was on a podcast where they did it, why don't you say I was on Toronto Mic'd? Would it kill you to tell the No Sleep Till Sudbury audience that this podcast that you come on is called Toronto Mic'd? Like, why is that
Always
not said?
thinking of the promo.
Yeah. Like, no credit, so that bothers me. And the other thing is, you're cheating on me.
Well, yes. But,
I thought we had an exclusivity agreement. What next? Are you
Damn
gonna
it,
be on
Mike! I have a record to promote. Because God knows there's no other way to promote a record these days.
Oh my goodness! Oh yes, you have a record on that. I think
do.
that's my cue.
But no, it isn't actually. I just want to say to our mutual friend, I apologize if anything I've ever said has hurt his feelings. He will deny it. Well, I don't know. When we've met in person, I've said I'm sorry if and he said no, it's fine. But I don't believe that that's true, because he then took the time to transcribe what I said on this podcast.
No, I don't think he did the transcript. I think he found the maybe Apple did the transcription.
Oh, maybe.
And he screen capped it.
Right,
I don't think he typed out the transcription.
Well, I hope not.
I hope
Yeah.
this FOTM Hall of Famer, codename 1236, I hope, because I noticed he doesn't come to the Palma Pasta FOTM, TMLX events, and I noticed he doesn't get on the list to make an appearance at the GLB Brew Pub TMLX events, but he does come out to many of the events at the Great Lakes Brewery, 30 Queen Elizabeth.
Interesting.
So I'm really hopeful that Mark Weisblot, I said it, I have to fix that in post, that I hope he makes an appearance at TMLX 18.
Well, I miss him I miss the in memoriam things. I miss him on your podcast.
I miss him on my podcast too.
Yeah, but I'm also, we can have two ideas in our heads at once, and I also found
more respect for the dead. You're saying?
Well, I just feel like sometimes these people, maybe it's their characters, but maybe it's also these people are held up as they're just objects in a way, in the way that they're talked about, and I feel like they're not. They're not. And they're not just objects for your... It reminds me of when I used to get fan mail back in that brief moment when I had a flicker of fame.
Oh.
And no, I'm good with it, believe me.
Okay.
But I used to get fan mail, and one of my correspondents wrote at one point, I am very pleased with the Jitters and the Jitters new album, and I thought, very pleased, as if we're sort of served up on a platter or a tray for them for their enjoyment. And I just even in that moment I sort of thought that's an odd way of putting it. And I sort of think of people who are famous. I mean, I volunteered for the position, and I received a little bit of it. So people who they seek, you seek fame, or you seek very few people who become famous didn't seek it. Anyway, I'm rambling. You get what I mean. I just feel like it dehumanized a little bit. That's all.
Duly noted, as another podcast might say.
Which I also listen to that podcast too, by the way.
He also says he replies to every email he gets, and he did not reply to my email.
He says he reads every email that goes to that address. I noticed it. It's almost like he's a lawyer. He says, and I read every email that goes to that address.
But I reply when I can.
Yes.
That's the part. Well, I'm still waiting. It's been 8 years. Okay. So I'm glad that we talked about death.
Well, I'm really glad that we cleared the air, because it was really, our chat up until that point was really stilted. It was stiff.
I did tease that early on. Sometimes I tease things and I never get to it. And then afterwards I'm like, I forgot I teased it. I never got to it. Time to get serious, because I want you to talk about somebody who passed away.
As you get serious, I want to say once again, for the record, I like Mark Weisblot. I do not resent that he brought this up. I liked very much hearing him on your podcast, and I wish I could hear him again more easily.
And I echo those sentiments, and I have said this to Mark many times, but I'm going to say it again because I know he's listening. My door is open for Mark Weisblot, and we used to have a 3-hour recording once a month. And then
Very entertaining.
But then it stopped,
episodes.
and then he did make an appearance on the mics when I was recording at Christie Pitts for the Toronto Maple Leafs baseball game.
Yeah, great.
But that's the last time he's been on my mics. Like, I don't know how to book somebody who doesn't want to come by. So it takes two to tango, but I'm telling you, I'm ready to fucking tango, buddy. Let's go. Okay, let's get serious because I want to ask you about somebody who passed on.
Yeah,
okay,
sure.
Gonna make a sad song about being alone. I was gonna make a sad song about moving on to a higher plane as a beam of light. I wonder where she is tonight. Was gonna make a sad song, but I changed my mind. I was gonna make a sad song, I got lots to say. I was gonna make a sad song, but not today. I'm gonna stand tall, act real brave, pick up my bags, get off that train. Was gonna make a sad song, but I changed my mind. To some it must seem easier to set themselves adrift, to quit the bonds of life and all that's in it. But she helped me make a choice, her unexpected gift, to stay the course and stand with that decision. I was gonna make a sad song about giving up. I was gonna make a sad song, I almost had enough. But I must march on even though I bleed. I have people here who need me. Was gonna make a sad song, but I changed my mind. So I'm gonna stand tall, act real brave, pick up my bags, get off that train. Was gonna make a sad, sad song, but I changed my mind.
For Joanne, would you please tell us about Joanne?
Yeah. Joanne was my girlfriend from sometime late in 2013 or so, early 2014. And we were on again, off again, but mostly on, very much mostly on. And and I loved her, and she chose to take her own life in February of 2018. And we had broken up at that point because, well, for a variety of reasons. But we were still really close friends. She was at my house 2 days before watching TV with my son, Owen, and I. And then 2 days later, she chose to leave. And I really can't help but think it was a decision made in the moment. I think she was in a lot of pain. At the funeral, the rabbi talked about now the black cloud has lifted, and this was echoed by other people who spoke. I didn't know there was a black cloud. She was always, she was sweet and lovely and beautiful and charming, and but she was troubled. I think, with the benefit of hindsight, I can see that she was troubled, and so I see what the other people were talking about. But at the time, I had no idea. I just thought she was odd at times, but she had an odd way of reacting to things, and that I didn't know. I wasn't smart enough, and I wasn't educated enough in depression and in trauma to even have an inkling of what was going on. And so it was an unbelievable shock when she died, and I've spent the rest of the time, as you can hear, I think I've spent the rest of the time processing. I'm still processing it, but and I miss her every day. And it was a huge thing. So
I'm sorry for your loss.
yeah, thank you. She was Anyway, she was wonderful. I wanted to write a song though that wasn't about how sad I am, which maybe still I can write that, but I wanted to write a song that acknowledged her choice, or first of all her existence, but also her choice, and the fact that her choice meant that I have made a choice too. That I will never do that. I felt suicidal. But I won't do that because of the ripple of pain, the ripples of pain that her death caused for everybody around me and me and her family, of course. And I could never do that to my son, first of all, but also all the other people who would feel pain, because all of us have people around us who love us and care for us, even if we feel we don't, which of course we all feel like that at times, so that I wanted to write that in a song, so I did. And I wrote it a few years ago now. All the songs on this record of mine are older. The newest one is from 2022. But
so did Joanne hear songs from The Impossible Dream?
Yeah, she did. Yeah, she did. She didn't hear that one, obviously.
Right.
But yeah, she did. There were songs on there. Early Bird, for instance, which opens the album. She would hear these songs, and I wouldn't have recorded them. Yeah, there it is. And she'd say, she called me Bear. She would say, Bear, you should record this. You should put this out. And she would dance in her chair. Not kidding. Like sitting to it, and she was just, yeah, she was great.
A little Early Bird from The Impossible Dream.
So look at me, look what I've done. The early bird, in my opinion, is smart, superior, self-satisfied. The early bird might get the worm, but me, I just get mad. The stitch in time, the penny saved, the early bird, it's all the same. Free advice costs what it's worth. Living for me, not for some dumb bird. Someday I may rise with the sun, but I won't crow to everyone. The early bird might be virtuous, but me, I'm not the crowing kind. I don't cover that much distance on the path of least resistance, and I don't ever rush to procrastinate, but I resolve to keep on trying, spread my wings and just start flying. Maybe tomorrow, maybe even today. Still, the early bird don't get my admiration, my approval, nor envy too. The early bird is on my hit list, waking me up with its coo, coo, coo. The early bird might get the worm, but who would want worms anyway? The early bird gets up and gone, but me, I just get mad. The early bird might get the worm, but me, I'm sleeping in. Yeah. Sleeping in.
I'd sleep in too.
Don't bother me.
The early bird can have the worm, but who wants worms anyway? Okay, love it. So Joanne would hear these songs. Is it fair to say that Joanne would encourage you to record these songs?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, she would. and I regret not having her sing on any of them. I don't think she was a good singer, but she was cute. I have a couple of pictures of her with headphones on, standing in front of my studio mic, the way I am right now, pretending to sing, like making a singer face. And she was so cute and so smart too. Oh my goodness.
See, I feel I know you, Blair, pretty well. Because we've had how many episodes of Toronto Mic'd, and of course I'm at your house on Saturday. I bike to your home just to say hi quickly and tell me that.
I love that, by the way. Yeah, that's right. You're 3 weeks early.
3 weeks. That's it's such an unbelievable story. It's like, oh, did you make that up? But that actually happened. Okay.
22 kilometers from your house to mine.
Right, because you asked me how long, and I said, oh, I happened to record my rides. 22K, and it was cold that night, and I was happy to do it. It was a great ride, and again, I got to hang out with Cooksey and have some Great Lakes. But I had no idea that you had a Joanne in your life, and that this happened in your life. I had no idea until I basically was reading up on The Impossible Dream, and I was listening to that song, and I'm like, wow. This song is for a Joanne. I did not know the Joanne story.
Well, that's interesting to me because I feel like I have talked about Joanne a lot, and so maybe I've become self-conscious about talking about Joanne for two reasons. One is because I have a lot of guilt because I had broken up with her a few weeks before, maybe 6 weeks before. And I've been told that contributed to her decision. I've been told that by people who don't otherwise know that. But anyway, I don't want to be coy about it. But so I don't want to claim Joanne. I don't want to make Joanne's passing, her death, like part of my drama or anything. Like, you know what I mean? I don't want to make it about me. But
the trauma is for the survivors to deal with.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And
yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you know this, but you're not responsible for her decision to take her own life.
No, but I was told that directly. And
well, you shouldn't have been told
right
that.
In the moment. No, I don't think I should have been actually. But
it's just not fair to put that on you. That's undeserved.
But I don't want to. Again, I don't want to make it about me. But yeah, I agree. I ultimately agree. It's just that it hurt to hear it, and it hurts to think about it, and it hurts as well to think that somebody might be listening who is thinking that I'm somehow milking Joanne's death or something for I'm not.
Because 7 years later, you wrote a song about your, you know what I mean? That's cathartic. I'm sure that was cathartic to write this song.
Yeah, yes. But there are people who would be cynical about it, maybe. And so I don't, so that's one reason I've been reticent to talk about it. I also had a girlfriend after Joanne died who told me that I talked about Joanne too much. And it was one of the reasons she was going to break up with me. And so I maybe from that I learned. And then, by the way, and if she were still in Toronto, I would still be friends with her. But so I don't hold that against her. That's how she felt. But she did. She actually reached out to a families of grieving people kind of group. I don't remember the name of the group, and they told her, no, that's an inappropriate thing to say to somebody who's grieving. And so she wrote me in detail to say how sorry she was that she said that. And
inappropriate, but unfair.
Yeah, but if you're feeling it, you're feeling. I also believe you can feel things that are unfair and incorrect, but you still feel them, and you still have to deal with them somehow. So in that case, anyway, the point is though, it all led to me talking about it less, which would be why you didn't know about it.
Well, so this sadly happened in 2018, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you and I don't meet until October 2021. Yeah. So I just went back in the archives here, and that was a backyard episode, much like Ian Blurden's first episode of the backyard, because this is in that COVID period when I had and I think I might bring back some backyard episodes this summer because they had a nice vibe to them.
They were great. That was fun.
Although you were really late.
I was late. Yes, I was
I'm
thinking.
3 weeks early to your things, and you were late.
I was this morning thinking maybe I'll be late this morning to Toronto, Mike, just for old
No,
time's
we got to
sake.
hard out today. Okay.
Yeah.
But that was just to tell people, Blair's first episode, we kind of cover the A to Z of everything. And it was, as I just mentioned, it was in October 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And here's what I wrote. So that's episode 926. And I wrote, Mike chats with Blair Packham about his years in the Jitters, his time on Q107, Last of the Red Hot Fools, Closer Every Day. Oh, we did, and I no longer bring this up, but I did tell you at the time I felt you were very much in the Huey Lewis in the News vein.
Right. You actually focused more on Doug and the Slugs.
Well, yes, because Doug and the Slugs was in the Huey Lewis in the News.
Right.
vein.
And then you when you played a bit of Doug and the Slugs, I thought, oh shit, it does sound like that.
So I
but
did.
at the time, I swear.
But I have. I realized you didn't enjoy that comparison necessarily because it's not fair. That's not fair to you. But there are some songs that were on the radio from the Jitters that I felt were very much reminded me of Doug and the Slugs.
Right, and with the comparison, I both acknowledged it and was irritated.
Right. Yeah. So I held back on that, just like you're holding back on things. Okay. So and we talked about you write for other people and your work on TV. You mentioned Beyblades and films and etc. And so there's a great episode 926 for everybody. But sadly, I'm not going to let you off the hook with these chats about people who have passed away because somebody else passed away I want to ask you about.
Yeah.
And I believe he is heard on The Impossible Dream. Teddy Hawkins.
Yeah.
Could you talk to me about Teddy?
Yeah. I didn't know Teddy that well, but I really liked him a lot. A real character. Teddy played drums and sang. He didn't play drums on my record, but he sang on For Joanne, which is, of course, it's not. I don't know what it is. It's sad that he died. He died of a heart attack just a few weeks ago, really, and he was a working musician who played everywhere and with everybody. And I shared a stage with him. He played in the band that I would be playing with a couple of times. There was a Patsy Cline tribute show that I have done a few times. Heather Morgan put it together at the Lula Lounge, and she'd have great guests, and somehow I would be included. And but Teddy was the drummer in that band, and I got to tell you, there was something about his playing that was so beautiful. There's a thing that happens in a band, and he wasn't a technical drummer at all. He wasn't, when people have these arguments about who is the greatest rock drummer in the world, Neil Peart, and Ringo sucks and so forth. But Ringo has this thing that Teddy Hawkins had, which is this beautiful feel thing, and it just feels good. And music, that's what music is. It's not math, and it's not athleticism, though those things come into it, right? But it's about feeling. And the thing that I like, I don't care if it's fast or slow. I don't care if it's complicated or simple, as long as it makes me feel something. And, which is why I've got a late in life appreciation for Rush, because I always heard that as math rock.
Right.
And
it's so technically perfect.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's great. And Neil Peart was an unbelievably great drummer, like unbelievably great.
Absolutely.
But to compare, Neil Peart versus Ringo, I had this discussion at a party a few weeks ago, and I was like, oh, not this discussion again.
Right.
But a nice guy who maybe he's listening now, I don't know. But I just feel like it's not a contest, and especially not if somebody plays faster, they must be better or more technically proficient. In any case, Teddy was not one of those technical drummers. He was a field drummer, and he did it beautifully. And he had this big, beautiful gospel influenced voice. And once I decided that this song about Joanne could be kind of gospel-y, I thought, I should get Teddy to sing.
So sadly, we lost Teddy, and you may not have known him well, but you appreciated, his gospel tinged mojo.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So if I'm understanding, so the new album's called The Impossible Dream, and it sounds like there's some of these songs that have been hanging around for a while now, like before your beloved Joanne passed away in 2018. And then, of course, when that happens in your life, that's going to sidetrack you, right? So is it fair to say that maybe dealing with this trauma, like you were lost for a while, and that maybe that delayed?
Yeah. I mean,
everything?
My previous record, which is called Unpopular Pop,
Right.
the space between it and the one before that was 13 years. So it's not like I'm a speedy
Right.
album releaser anyway. But yeah, I would say between Joanne's death and the pandemic.
Oh yeah, that thing.
that thing that happened.
The thing that forced you into my backyard.
Yeah, that's right.
A little more.
Lucy took another call. She knew would be recorded for the purposes of quality control. She gave out some information. She upgraded an account and briefly wondered what had happened to her soul. She stretched her neck and yawned and shrugged and thought about the weekend and how she'd finally have the chance to just sleep in. But in her dreams she is soaring out over the ocean, arms outstretched as wings, her hair shining in the sun. In her dreams she is no prisoner of the day-to-day routine. She really loves to fly in her dreams.
I like how you tell a story in your songs, Blair.
Thank you.
And that song I play around Halloween every year, One Hit Wonder.
Mm-hmm.
Same deal. Like, it's just a great story. Just you're a great storyteller in these in your
Thanks.
music.
Well, thank you. And it's funny you mentioning that song now, and not wanting to revisit our argument that we just had, our really dispute.
Not
that
much
we
of an
had.
argument.
Yeah, I'm going to call David Steinberg to sue you.
Well, I got Lorne Honickman on speed dial, so let's go, buddy. Watch it,
There
buddy.
you go. Yeah, but One Hit Wonder is about Bobby Boris Pickett and the idea of people. Again, it's humanizing. You know, these one hit wonders. We always sort of sneer at the one hit wonders, just like we some slightly sneer at the people who are on, cheesy sitcoms. And I think, yeah, okay, but when they die, when they die,
But if a one-hit wonder dies,
yeah,
like Boris Pickett,
Bobby Pickett, yeah,
right, Bobby Pickett, right?
yeah.
You're not dehumanizing them. Like, I feel like this is the disconnect. Like, no, this is the fact that they had one song that people know the words to and love to hear. To me, that's amazing. Like, I don't think I ever feel.
Well, good for you, and I agree. I feel the same way. But
I can't speak for my co-host, but
I have been prone to so that story that I tell in that song, One Hit Wonder. Yeah, it's a true story. I was in a parking lot in Sarasota, Florida. Had just seen a movie. It was Public Eye with Joe Pesci, and
never seen it.
Great movie. It was about the photographer Ouija, who you really should look up. He took these great Hollywood photographs and crime scenes and stuff. Great.
Okay.
Anyway, I step out, and with Arlene Bishop, by the way, on my arm, and there's a flatbed truck with a band on it, and there are hay bales everywhere, and there are people in costumes, and there are people drinking beer, and the band, they just start cranking into the Monster Mash, and then there's a sign like on an easel, and it says Bobby Boris Pickett, the Monster Mash, and I realize, oh, it's that guy,
Right.
It's that guy, and I can see everybody sort of snickering a little bit and they start paying attention because I guess he'd been playing other songs and nobody cares about his other songs,
Right.
And I started sneering a little bit too. But as the song played, I thought, why am I laughing? The guy had a huge hit.
Absolutely. One more hit than 99.99999% of people who hear it will ever have.
Yeah. So I just felt like in that instance, like, and it was about me. Like, why am I sneering? And it was also about me, the song, because I was thinking of Last of the Red Hot Fools. I was thinking about, I'm kind of a one-hit wonder.
But then you remembered yet another hit that we played earlier.
Well, no, but neither of those songs would play in a parking lot in Sarasota, Florida, So
depends where not in Sarasota, but you put that parking lot a bit Young and Norden there, and we're gonna blast out that Red Hot Fools. Hey, I do have a question about one of the songs on Impossible Dream, but before I get to that, let me please tell you about a fantastic podcast from Nick Iones. It's called Building Toronto Skyline. In fact, tomorrow morning, we're going to record an episode all about the 50th anniversary of CN Tower. The CN Tower is 50 years old, Blair. Wow, who'd have thunk it? Okay, so we're going to talk about that, and I would urge people to subscribe and listen to Nick's podcast, Building Toronto Skyline. He's got a second podcast that's launching, first episode already available, called Building Success, and I also recommend that podcast. And thank you, Nick Iones, for stepping up to fuel the real talk. And last but not least on that front, recyclemyelectronics.ca. They're on board for all of 2025. And if you have any old devices, old cables, old electronics, do you, Blair?
I do. I have a drawer full.
Is East York full of old cables that you don't even know where they
go
go?
In East York, you trip over them.
They
It's
call it
awful.
the land of Cableville, they call it.
Land of Cableville.
Land of cables.
Yeah.
People in East York and elsewhere in this fine country, this sovereign nation. Are you proud of your sovereign nation,
I'm
Blair?
very, very proud of this sovereign nation.
I wasn't sure Gil Moore was proud enough of this sovereign nation. Like, I had to call him out. Like,
Really?
do you? Yeah, because he seemed. I just had to. I've only had one guest since all this 51st state rhetoric who even made me question whether they'd be okay with that, for what it's worth. And that was not Gil Moore. But,
Oh, okay. All right.
But I will finish this thought.
Yes.
recyclemyelectronics.ca is where you go.
Mm-hmm.
You put in your postal code and you find out where you can drop off those old cables, old devices, old electronics to be properly recycled so the chemicals do not end up in our landfill. That's what you do, Blair Packham.
That sounds good to me. Now, for the 50th anniversary of the CN Tower, will you be playing Michael Jordana and the Poles' CN Tower?
I don't even know this song.
Oh my goodness, look it up. It's from Toronto punk rock history, and the hook goes, CN Tower, CN Tower. So,
By the way, I'm learning so much about. I was too young for the scene, and I'm learning. And there's a band in my calendar now. I didn't know anything about, and then I started researching, and I'm like, I need to do an episode with this band, and I'm vamping while I come to tell you the name of this band. Are you ready to know the name?
Yes,
of the band?
I will vamp for you. Yes, I'm ready. If you tell me the name, I'm sure I will have something to say.
Okay. Well, that was perfect. You're good at this. No wonder you were on
Hit the
Q107.
post. That's right. Yeah.
Stark Naked and the Flesh Tones.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Really?
So
yes.
What do you know about Stark Naked and the Flesh Tones?
Well, you can get, I don't know who do you have Eugene Ripper coming on?
I have Stark.
Oh, yeah, Paul Stark.
Yeah, Paul Stark.
Yeah.
And a gentleman named Bruce.
Yes, Bruce Charlap,
Yes.
who was Eugene, who still is Eugene Ripper.
This is the kind of intel I haven't done yet.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have the two founding members.
Eugene Ripper was his thing was he's sort of a punk folk guy, and and he's a great guy.
So I'm always what I'm saying.
And
is
Paul's a great guy too, by the way.
This goes back to Paul but this goes back to Paul Harvey.
Yes,
Because I don't know that band.
Yeah.
But I realize I should know that band, and I need. This is similar to, it's a lot like former Jitters member Martin.
Glenn Martin.
No.
Oh, Blair Martin.
Blair Martin.
Okay, yeah, but I can connect that.
Okay.
So the bass player in the Raving Mojos with Blair Martin.
Right.
Bass player is currently in a New York band called the Flesh Tones, who also were a seminal sort of punk band, but not to be confused with Stark Naked and the Flesh Tones.
Okay.
Right?
You did it perfectly. And the Raving Mojos. Yeah, you finish your thought.
And Ken Fox, that's the name of the bass player from the Raving Mojos. His brother is Paul Fox, who directs Canadian television at a high level.
Wow.
Yes. And
Honestly,
you should look up Paul
hook
Fox.
this to my vein.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to tell me it was Adam Fox's brother.
No,
member of the Impossible Dream.
That Adam Fox, that Fox is spelled F-A-U-X.
Right. It's like a faux.
he was who introduced me to Ken McNeil from Rusty. I'm telling you,
Unbelievable.
it's all connected.
Who, by the way, the podcast you cheated on me with is called No Sleep Till Sudbury. Ken McNeil is a bricklayer in Sudbury.
No kidding. Wow. Well, there you go.
Okay, this is unbelievable.
Talented guy. I like those Rusty records, by the way. But my encounter with Ken was not great.
So I gather. See, finally, you're coming clean here.
Yeah.
Okay, but you know what?
But it was 100 years. It was literally 1992.
Yeah, I feel like he's growing quite a bit as a person since
I hope
then.
so.
Ken McNeil. Okay, we gotta reunite you guys at a TMLX event. Okay, we're cooking off gas here because I just saw the clock.
Okay.
So I would just say the Raving Mojos is an example of I missed the Raving Mojos, but I needed to learn about the Raving Mojos, and I talked to Blair Martin, former member of the Jitters, and we got that whole.
Blair Packham, former member of the Jitters. Blair Martin.
Not.
Yes, was
Never
the
in
lead
the Jitters.
singer. No, he was
Okay.
never. Yeah.
Was he, okay. Why did I think he might have played with the Jitters for a little bit or something?
No, his brother Glenn Martin did.
His brother. Goodness gracious.
Glenn Martin also played with Ray Sawyer from Dr. Hook and the Medicine Show.
Wow.
Yeah, so like that's spreading the circle out a little bit more. But
Okay, and here's how we're gonna close because these songs from The Impossible Dream are from like over many years.
yes, yeah. Well, some are from the '90s. Two of them are
that's
from the
why.
90s.
Okay, so I'm
Yeah.
gonna do that.
Yeah.
Because I'm gonna play a song from the Jitters. Okay, just a
Okay.
bit of it. Then I'll break it down, and then I'm gonna play a song from Impossible Dream. Okay.
Okay,
So
yep.
this is from the Jitters.
Yep.
You were in the Jitters.
I knew them quite well. Yeah.
It's in the liner notes. Okay, Jitters.
Well, the light fell out of your eyes last night and over me. And I knew that what comes from a moment like this was meant to be. All at once I saw myself without any doubt. And I knew that it was you, that it was all about. But if I'm gonna make this happen, I've got some figuring out to do. I'm gonna spend my time from now on making heads and tails out of you. And I don't think that I should hurry. I don't ever want to get through. I'm gonna spend my time from now on making heads and tails out of you.
Heads and tails.
Yeah, man.
Okay, good stuff here. But now I'm going to play something from Impossible Dream. The Impossible Dream available now.
Everywhere on Bandcamp, Spotify.
The Impossible Dream, Blair Packham.
Yeah, everywhere.
Okay, so this is not a Jitters song. This is a Blair Packham, The Impossible Dream song. Here we go.
The light fell out of your eyes last night and over me. And I knew that what comes from a moment like this was meant to be. All at once I saw myself without any doubts. And I knew that it was you, that it was all about. But if I'm gonna make this happen, I've got some figuring out to do. I'm gonna spend my whole life trying to make heads and tails out of you. And I don't think that I should hurry. I don't ever want to get through. I'm gonna try to take forever, making heads and tails out of you.
So there you go. Did you reimagine Heads and Tails?
Yeah, I'm reimagining it further now. I think it should be faster.
Well, people listen to this podcast at like 1.5 or whatever, so it will be faster.
So it actually will be faster.
It'll be perfect.
That's right,
Okay.
yeah.
Who's the woman's voice I hear in that?
Oh, that is the unbelievably great Natalie Wong. She plays violin, fiddle, and violin. All like they're the same instrument, but she plays live with me sometimes. But I wanted a flavor that sort of reflected what I sounded like live these days, because I don't have a big rock band anymore. I don't have a big pop band. So this is mostly acoustic, and there's a fiddle player. But I couldn't resist putting the castanets on because, well, that was the drummer's choice, and I just loved it. So the drummer said, "What about castanets?" So,
but it's interesting.
yeah.
You're covering yourself essentially. This is like
Yeah, that was Andy Humphrey's idea, by the way. He actually he worked up a version of it, a recording of it, and then sent it to me and said, "What do you think? Should we cut this?" And I thought, yes, we should. Except I'm going to do my own version.
Yeah.
So-
Well, I to be maybe because it's more. I'm digging this version.
Oh, I like this version. I just think it should be a little bit faster. That's all.
Okay. Well, there's,
And the Jitters version, it hit me hard listening to it just now.
yeah.
I was like, oh wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
We had a
a good
Jitters
song.
reunion in November, and we played that song, and and we rocked, man.
Well, will there be more Jitters performances?
Yeah, but the only way we can do it and actually not have it, cost us money is to do it like once a year. So
now a real phone call from Michael Williams.
Oh,
so,
there you go.
That's a real call.
Apparently, he needs to speak with you.
I don't like Facebook calls. Like,
no, because who knows what you're doing at that moment?
Well, it's just to me,
Yeah.
it's
intrusive,
just like I have a phone. It's just, can you? I know. Do I sound like an old man? Call my phone.
I prefer to get a text first. Just Mark
I don't even mind,
Weisblad
like,
if you're listening.
Does he call you?
No, I don't.
No, I would say.
No, I'm just thinking,
Oh, I
who am I
see.
talking to?
Right.
Like when I say that, who's going to text me first? And then I thought, well, it would be funny to say.
I try
Mark,
to
that's
text
all.
you first. If
Yeah.
I phone you, it's because I'm outside your door.
Yes,
You
and
know,
that
that's
worked
a big.
out- that worked
That's a
out
big
well.
difference. So here, as we do final thoughts here, as
Okay.
we, I'm going to put a little bit of another song from the Impossible Dream in the background while we wrap up. This is funny how. He's calling again. Do you think this is harassment? Am I being harassed by the
Could
former
be an
VJ,
emergency.
Michael Williams? Could be an emergency, but I can't
Could have
imagine.
a much music emergency.
If you're calling me in your emergency, it's too late. It's too late. Okay.
Right.
Any words about beloved FOTM and founding member of Lowest of the Low, Stephen Stanley?
Oh, I have so many words about Stephen Stanley.
I thought you might have some words.
They're all good. Stephen is a lovely fellow. You know, when Joanne died, Stephen, we'd been friends a little bit because he was on my radio show on News Talk 1010. Bob Reed and I had him on as a guest, and we sort of hit it off, and it was good. And then I went to some shows he did, and I don't know. But when Joanne died, he sort of swooped in, much like Sharon Taylor, by the way, Sharon Setterington, and I mean it in the best way. They swooped in to like take care of me, and both of them were. It was very meaningful to me, both Sharon and Stephen. Sharon just wasn't doing any shows that I could open for her, where Stephen was. So he not only provided me with friendship, but he also gave me opportunities to play music and to play on the same bill with him, which is he's really, really talented.
I'm a
His
big
songs are great.
Stephen Stanley fan.
Me too. And he lives in Prince Edward County now. And he's one of the
So
reasons.
not Wolf Island. I feel like he was on Wolf
He
Island.
was on Wolf Island, and he's moved. And he's one of the reasons I want to move to Prince Edward County, to be honest with you.
Okay, and that's interesting.
Yeah.
Steve Anthony moved out there, but then he moved back. But
Right.
the pandemic was a great disruptor for what he wanted to do there.
What's his partner's name? Jennifer?
No, it'll come to me.
I'm sorry, I'm forgetting
I know.
because I don't know them very well, but anyway, she said to me, get in touch because we have comments both positive and negative. Like before I move out there, get in touch. And a few people have said that to me, not about Prince Edward County specifically, but the idea of leaving the great metropolis of Toronto.
Yeah, because that's a big move. Like, I mean,
It's a big
I
move.
don't have plans to do it, but I know people who did it, and some regretted it, and some say it's the best thing they ever did. Like,
Yeah.
it depends what you're into. But
There was that article in Toronto Life about, I don't know, 5-6 years ago. David Eddy from the Globe and Mail
yeah,
wrote this article. Pam Seidel.
That's right.
That's right. They
from
were
City TV.
They moved out somewhere near Hamilton, near Flamborough or something, and I believe they regretted it. That was the gist of the article, and so you think about these things.
Well, how serious are you about this? Like, how likely is it that the next time you're on Toronto Mike, you had to make the commute from Prince Edward County? That's a long drive.
Not pretty likely, because not bloody likely, because it's going to be a while. I've got to convince my son that he will survive, and not only survive, he'll thrive in my absence. And he doesn't. I don't think he believes that right now, and I understand that. I think if I moved right now, he would feel abandoned, and I think in his imagination he already feels abandoned. But I would never abandon him. So
No, of course not.
one way or another, he will be fine.
One way or
Yeah.
another.
That's right.
On the live stream, there was a correct. I think I agree with this. That there are times when your cadence, your voice, are very reminiscent of your old pal Stephen Page.
Isn't that funny? And I love Stephen Page, of course. Yeah. People have said that to me, singing and playing and talking. They've said that. I've opened for Stephen a couple of times, notable times. Once in Dublin, Ireland.
Whoa!
You may have heard of Dublin. It's in
I've
Ireland.
been there.
Yeah. And once at the Danforth Music Hall. He opened for Arlene and I a whole bunch of times with Ed Robertson in the earliest days of the Bare Naked Ladies.
Drove downtown in the rain. Okay, let's hear some more. 9:30 on a Tuesday night. I miss when the albums came out on Tuesdays. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
Of course you do. What am I talking about?
course
But
I
it's
do.
like I don't think that happens anymore. Like,
No,
they
people
change the date or they just drop.
They
or whatever.
drop. They don't release. They drop, and they drop on any old day.
What? And I mean, we don't.
What?
I know I'm playing you out, but I was gonna say because I started my sentence and then
Yes.
realized we
I
don't
thought
have
you were
time.
doing a David Clayton Thomas impression.
No,
What
what
goes up?
must come
I always thought
down.
it'd be funny if he answered the phone like that. If he picked up the phone and went, "What?
You know, I almost had a phoner with him.
Really?
That, Eric Alper was arranging, and then
Oh.
Eric. I don't know. Maybe this is a tale out of school, but basically, he wasn't in any condition to do a phoner with Toronto Mike. It was a bad idea. We had to kibosh it. But
Oh, I'm
so
sorry
it
to
didn't
hear
happen.
that.
But
Yeah.
I will say this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you release new music in 2025. I'm not sure you know how to do it, but you did it, man.
Well, yeah, thanks. I mean, I just decided to just put it out. Like, I don't know. But
it's
yeah,
out.
it's out.
People listening to us right now can now go listen to The Impossible Dream.
That's true. Apple Music, Spotify, Bandcamp. Bandcamp's my favorite, by the way.
Okay, so Bandcamp, do we just search for Blair Packham?
Yeah.
What's the deal there?
Yeah,
Okay.
you go to you can if you want to go direct, you can go blairpackham.bandcamp.com.
It's that easy.
It's that easy. Yeah.
Dude, this was great.
Yeah, fun as always.
Always fun with you.
Yeah.
Can't wait to take that photo by the Toronto tree.
That's right. Can't wait for you to show up at my party on the right day.
We'll see. the joke will be I don't show up at all.
That's true. And we'll all laugh.
And that brings us to the end of our 1,669th show.
69!
Go to torontomike.com for all your Toronto Mike needs. I'm getting multiple texts from Michael Williams. Like something is happening.
You're getting them on your watch.
Yeah, because my watch is vibrating. I'm looking over and I see Michael Williams is writing me. Like I have to tomorrow when I record, I'm going to report back what the heck
What it
Michael
was.
Williams
Yeah, I
wanted
wanna
to talk
know.
to me about. It's
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
But much love to all who made this possible. That's Great Lakes Brewery, Palma Pasta, Maneris, Silver Wax. Man, you're going to have a clean car next time I see it.
Yeah.
Love you, Silver Wax. Use
Yep.
Toronto Mike 10 at checkout at silverwax.ca. Recyclemyelectronics.ca, Building Toronto Skyline, and Ridley Funeral Home. See you all tomorrow. What a music week on Toronto Mike. Tomorrow, my special guest, I can't wait for this, Crystal Shawanda. Do you know this name?
Yes. Yes, she's great. And
That
she's-
voice is amazing.
She's a great interview, too.
Hey, live in the basement, Crystal Shawanda, tomorrow afternoon on the live stream at 2:45. See you all then.